Okay, so last night I found this Reddit post, and, well, it's been stuck in my head ever since.
Oh,
Yeah, it's about these two sisters, Divya and Nirali.
okay.
And Divya, the one who wrote the post, she's a physics researcher,
Right.
and she makes it pretty clear that her whole family is wicked smart.
I
She
see.
even quotes Firefly in the post to prove it. But
Interesting.
she says her younger sister, Nirali, is on another level, entirely, like a true prodigy.
Okay, that's quite the introduction. What makes Neurali so special?
So Divya's at home working on some research when she hears Nirali's voice talking to her, clear as day,
Uh-huh.
except Nirali's room is empty.
Hmm.
Debbie even checks the door. It's closed. There's
So,
no way Nirali should be in there.
sounds like the start of a ghost story.
Right. Well, it gets weirder. Nirali explains she's not a ghost. She's invisible.
Invisible.
Yeah, she's figured out how to literally walk where the walls aren't.
Walk where the walls aren't. That's a chilling image.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So Divya asks for a more scientific explanation, and Nirali starts throwing around terms like atomic frequencies, post-dimensional drift, even something called the Planck supertemporal parallel.
Wow.
Honestly, it's way over even Divya's head, and she's a physicist.
I imagine so. Even the most advanced theoretical physics we have doesn't account for something like walking through walls. Neurali must be tapping into something entirely unknown.
Right. And here's the thing that really got to me. Nirali describes what she sees when she's invisible. She says it's like 100 versions of herself, all superimposed on top of each other.
Really?
Yeah, it's a pretty disturbing image, isn't it?
It certainly suggests a level of body horror most cosmic horror doesn't touch on, a fragmented self existing in multiple states simultaneously. It's almost Lovecraftian in its implications.
Exactly. As if that wasn't enough, Divya realizes something even stranger. She doesn't know what language Nirali's speaking. It's like a jumble of sounds that make no sense.
Huh.
But somehow Divya understands every word, as if Nirali is speaking perfect English.
A universal language. Fascinating. The implications for communication, for understanding across cultures are enormous.
So they start testing it out. Nirali recites Lorem Ipsum, which is Latin right,
Yes.
but it sounds like English to Divya.
Wow.
Then she quotes a Hindu invocation, again sounding like English. It's like Nirali's unlocked some hidden code of the universe.
And what was Neurali's reaction to this discovery?
Well, at first she's excited. Divya says they stayed up late into the night, cataloging the lexicon of this universal language.
A lexicon. Wow.
Nirali was even sneaking in to do these experiments because their parents had banned her from doing any more at home.
Why?
After the last one went wrong, apparently it caused a lot of damage.
The classic trope of the brilliant but reckless scientist, it makes you wonder what kind of damage a universal language could even cause.
That's the thing, right? It all seems so amazing and wondrous, until it isn't. One night, in the middle of an experiment, Nirali goes silent.
What happened? Did something go wrong with her invisibility?
That's what Divya thinks at first, but then Nirali whispers, the shadow behind the walls.
Hmm.
And that's when things take a very dark turn. Divya said this feeling of dread, like a primal paranoia, just washed over her, like something was watching them, being cold and hungry, lurking just out of sight.
Oh, wow.
Nirali was terrified too, but she managed to whisper that it was gone, at least for now.
So even the ability to walk through walls can't protect you from the things that lurk in the spaces between.
Right. A week later, Nirali confessed to Divya what she thought had happened.
Okay.
She believed the shadow was drawn to the universal language. Like something about that way of speaking, that connection to something beyond our understanding, acts like a beacon to these entities.
This is where the story crosses over from fascinating science into true cosmic horror. We're talking about forces, beings, whatever you want to call them, that exist outside our perception, our comprehension. And now they're being drawn in by this language, by this connection Nirali has made.
And it gets worse. Nirali started describing the other things she was seeing, the things she was experiencing in what she called the between. She talked about seeing the history and future of colors, like a living tapestry of every shade imaginable.
Colors.
Yeah, and she described cities made of bone and glass, structures that defy the laws of physics as we know them. She even claimed to have stood in the center of a black hole, somehow surviving the experience.
It's as if she's ripped a hole in the fabric of reality and glimpsed the raw chaos that lies beneath. Experiences like that would shatter the mind of a normal person.
But along with the wonders, alongside the beauty, were these terrifying entities.
Entities.
Things with too many shapes, things that moved in ways that made no sense. Things that seemed to be hungry, but not for anything she could understand.
That's scary.
And the more time Nirali spent in the between, the more convinced she became that these things would soon be able to see her, to reach her, that whatever barrier protected her before was weakening.
So she's trapped between the allure of unimaginable wonders and the growing threat of these otherworldly entities. A classic cosmic horror dilemma, wouldn't you say?
Exactly. But here's the truly devastating part. Remember how they were cataloging this universal language?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out Nirali's constant exposure to it, her immersion in it, had a terrible consequence.
What happened?
She could no longer speak any other language.
Oh no.
She tried to speak English, her native tongue, but all that came out were these guttural, distorted sounds, like something of a nightmare.
A complete linguistic breakdown, fascinating and horrific in equal measure.
And the most terrifying part, Divya could still understand her.
She could.
The universal language had become so ingrained in Nirali's mind, in her very being, that it was overriding everything else. She couldn't escape it even when she wasn't intentionally using it.
So she's cut off from the world she knows, the people she loves, trapped in this prison of alien sounds. And yet she can still communicate with her sister, the one person who can understand her torment. It's a cruel irony, isn't it?
It's beyond cruel. It's cosmic horror on a deeply personal level. It's about the loss of self, the disintegration of identity, and the terrifying knowledge that something else is taking its place.
I can only imagine the horror of hearing those sounds, those alien utterances, knowing that somewhere beneath them is your sister trapped and alone.
And then it gets even worse. Remember how Nirali was sneaking in to do these experiments? Well, it turns out she was terrified of telling her parents.
Oh, why?
Terrified of what they'd think, what they'd do. She didn't want to be locked away, studied, experimented on. She just wanted to understand this power she discovered, to explore the wonders she was seeing. She even told Divya, "I didn't want to lose you, to lose us."
A desperate attempt to hold on to her humanity, her connection to the world she knew. And all the while this cosmic horror is closing in, consuming her from the inside out.
And that's what makes the ending so utterly chilling. Divya is begging her to come back, to figure out how to reverse what's happened. But Nirali knows it's too late. The universal language has taken root too deeply. So she scoots closer to Divya, and in this guttural, horrifying voice, she utters one final phrase in the universal language. And even though it sounds like a monster speaking, Divya understands perfectly. She says, "Don't tell Mom and Dad."
A final, desperate plea for protection spoken in the very language that's destroying her. A chilling reminder that even in the face of cosmic horror, even as our minds and bodies are being torn apart, we cling to those basic human connections, those desperate hopes for love and understanding.
And then silence. Divya never saw her sister again. It's a story that really sticks with you, you know? Makes you think about the limits of knowledge, the price of curiosity, and the things that might be lurking just beyond our perception, waiting for someone to stumble too close.
It's a potent example of cosmic horror and body horror intertwined, the vast, unknowable universe encroaching on the very fabric of our being, reshaping us into something monstrous. It's a fear that's both ancient and deeply unsettling.
There's something about the universal language that's particularly disturbing. It's like this key to a hidden door in reality, a door we were never meant to open.
Language is how we define ourselves, how we make sense of the world. To have that language corrupted, replaced by something alien, something that attracts these terrifying entities, it's a violation on a fundamental level.
And poor Nirali, a young girl, brilliant and curious, drawn into this cosmic horror through her own pursuit of knowledge. It makes you wonder what happened to her after that night. Did she ever find a way to communicate again? To break free from the prison of that universal language? Or is she still out there somewhere in the between, lost and alone, forever changed by what she saw, what she heard, what she became?
Those are questions we may never have answers to, but perhaps that's part of the power of cosmic horror. It leaves us with a lingering sense of unease, a reminder that there are forces at play beyond our understanding, forces that can reshape us, consume us, erase us from existence.
It's a reminder that some doors are best left unopened, some knowledge best left undiscovered, but it's also a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit, the enduring power of love and connection, even in the face of the most profound horror. Nirali's final message to her sister, a plea for protection spoken in the very language that was destroying her, is a testament to that. It's a reminder that even in the darkest corners of the universe, even when faced with the most terrifying unknowns, we still cling to those we love, those who understand us, those who offer a glimmer of hope in the face of oblivion.
It's a chilling thought and a strangely comforting one, a reminder that even as the cosmic horrors close in, we are not alone, we have each other. And perhaps in the end, that's all that matters.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today. I want to thank you for joining me for this look into, well, something truly terrifying and thought-provoking.
It was my pleasure.
And to all of you listening out there, stay curious, but maybe don't go looking for any universal languages.